Ghosts of the Future, Issue 4. Silver says that his mother sent her son reading assignments. Usually teachers do that. If his mother was a teacher, that'd be great because it means she'd have a job that's productive and interested in a particular subject, which would make her more of a character than Sonic's parents who don't have jobs, so they don't feel as much like real parents. If he's just speaking metaphorically like I figured at first, and she just sent him books to read because she likes them, that'd develop on her character as a bookworm. If neither of those things are true, then that would mean her character hasn't been developed on, and that would be boring. It's interesting to learn about Silver's mother for once. It just makes the fact that Silver never has parents look arbitrary. It makes me wonder, why don't the canon continuity show us the parents of every playable Sonic character? I used to think that the reason they get to go on adventures is because they don't have parents. But in Archie, Sonic has parents and so does Tails, and they don't keep them from going on adventures. It's just missing opportunities for creating new, interesting characters that could have nice interactions with them. After Silver floats a pencil or something, Sonic says he can feel the next Chaos Emerald like it's right here for some reason, but just can't get into a trance. Why would he need to get into a trance? Won't he be feeling the next emerald because he's sensing the chaos energy in Silver, and maybe himself? He should go away from Silver then. Silver thinks Sonic's too hyper to meditate. When was it ever implied that he needed to be in a trance and meditate to figure out where the first chaos emerald was? I guess he did that off screen, and that's why I already knew where it was. Knuckles never needed to meditate and be in a trance to locate where the Master Emerald shards were. No character has ever needed to do that to locate chaos energy before. No wonder I find it stupid. Silver tells Sonic that his mother sends him reading assignments as part of his homeschool curriculum. Oh, that's mildly interesting, because we never see him like that. And he's working at the restaurant of a friend of his dad's. And his friend's also a homeschooler. Miraculously. That explains why he never gets to go to school. Good, but what about all the other Sonic characters, who just happen to conveniently meet each other because of Eggman's involvement in their lives? Sure would be convenient if all of them were homeschooled too. Well, so much for Silver's mother having a character as an actual teacher. It'd be lame if I never learned what her job was. Just as I was starting to wonder if the writer had suddenly made Silver a homeschooler out of nowhere just because that's how she was, the description of that page actually confirmed my suspicion. I knew someone like that once. I liked the idea of Rosie being the teacher of Sonic, Tails, and Rotor in Archie. She was teaching them when they were kids, so it was kind of like they were being homeschooled, because they didn't go to a school, but they weren't literally homeschooled. They weren't taught by their parents. I could believe that Rosie was actually a qualified teacher who actually knew all the stuff that she had to teach them. Shadow is shown snoring, and Sonic complains about it. Silver says he didn't even know Shadow slept. Why wouldn't he? And Sonic reveals that this is Shadow's monthly sleep day, and he doesn't need to rest or eat as much as a normal person, and eating days where he binge eats. This is convoluted. Shadow was made as the ultimate life form, specifically so that it could be a cure for Maria's NIDS. And his chaos powers were only thrown in there so that Gerald could make Black Doom believe that he was making him a useful living weapon for later, when really he wanted Shadow to use those powers against the Black Arms. Considering why Shadow was made, why would Gerald have gone through the extra trouble of figuring out how to make a person that only has to sleep and eat one day a month? That would only make sense if he was trying to figure out how to make everybody like that. Like, he'd be the ultimate life form because he'd be the first step in everybody being improved. But obviously, there was no actual indication that that was his plan. He only wanted him for two things. What would Gerald have to gain from making Shadow an insomniac most of the time? Gerald would have made himself like this if he wanted everybody to be like that. I can understand him wanting to save money on paying for food for him up in the Ark. My problem is, if he looks like a hedgehog person on the outside, I can't understand how his biology is supposed to have him survive only eating once a month. This would only slightly make sense if he was a biomass-eating robot that stored a ton of electricity from eating, but also stored energy from breathing. And so eating wasn't really necessary, and he only looked organic on the outside. Maybe eating was only necessary because it provides more energy than breathing does. I can understand the eating day part to save money, but Gerald would have nothing to gain from making Shadow be awake all night nearly every night with nothing to do, so that he might end up bothering people in their sleep out of boredom. Wouldn't Shadow just sleep at night anyways out of boredom and wanting to rest from mental exhaustion? He's not known to have any hobbies, so he wouldn't do hobbies at night instead. I guess we're supposed to assume he just watches TV in the living room all night, like Sonic's father, because he doesn't have to sleep as a robot. Again, Shadow being like this would only make sense if he was a robot on the inside. He looks like he's the same species as Silver, who does need to sleep. Computers need to be shut off every so often. Well, I don't know that much about computers. Maybe they would be able to handle going for a month without shutting off. At least way better than a human would. But it just doesn't seem like a good idea. There's a reason that I turn off my computers every night. This factoid about Shadow is interesting, but it was never implied in canon, and that's for a reason, because I'm just confused about it. So what if he's the ultimate life form? What would that have to do with him being like this? You'd think the ultimate life form wouldn't have to eat or sleep at all then, like Silver assumed, if it's supposed to mean that he's the outright perfect life form. No wonder I was confused. But it's a bit more grounded in reality that Shadow can't be like that, and this is as ultimate as it gets. We saw him buying food from a restaurant in the first issue, and apparently it wasn't eating day. And maybe according to this, now it's supposed to be that he only bought from the restaurant so he could have the food in his fridge for eating day later. Why wouldn't he just wait until eating day to buy from the restaurant? He'd rather have fresh food. He wouldn't have even met Silver. Maybe it's not worth introducing a concept if I just end up ranting about it for multiple paragraphs. Also, I guess I'm forced to assume that if Shadow tries to eat on a day other than eating day, he'll throw up. And he can't have an appetite more than once a month. Because otherwise you'd think he'd eat every day recreationally because he liked the taste of various food. That keeps it simple. That's what everyone would assume. Him not being able to eat more than once a month at all sounds like a horrible curse to live with. That doesn't make him superior. And Gerald was a good person when he made him, so he would have known that and not made him like that. Like, imagine if Sonic could only eat chili dogs once a month. He'd hate that. To force the plot, Silver just happens to be reading the Arabian Nights, out of all the other books he could have been assigned. Well, that's convenient. Coincidences do happen, but still, it's flimsy to have a plot that could have so easily not happened. It was actually more likely that Sonic had that book, because I guess he got it from the library or something, but why would a kid or teenager be randomly assigned the Arabian Nights as a school book to read? Of all the books that he could have gotten, really? He could have checked it out from the library and that would have made more sense. Sonic wants to look at the book because of his past experiences with Sonic and the Secret Rings. I think it would have been a less forced premise if Sonic actually did meditate properly, and he actually did detect that the emerald was in that book, and so he agreed to go in the book. Silver says he's got to read Harry Potter after this. See, that's a book that I always read in school. Not that. Sonic finds out that the book is completely blank of its pages and is shocked at it, and then a voice calls one of them a legendary hedgehog and says that their tale is a new chapter. And then they both get sucked into the book by magic. Sonic tells Silver he's been in the Arabian Nights before, which is comforting at least. They wonder why they're here and get greeted by a human Sonic never saw before, who claims to be the creator of the book. Then why is she in here, instead of out of here? Why did we not see her in Sonic and the Secret Rings, more importantly? You'd think she'd personally thank Sonic at the end of the game. I guess she was busy bowling that day or something. He thinks that she looks familiar despite never seeing her before. She says that the dark powers that Sonic once defeated are strong again. How? Sonic trapped the Razor Jin in a lamp last time. They could get summoned into the book for the same reason they did in the game. That'd be simpler. Instead, I'm wondering why this character wasn't at the start of Sonic and the Secret Rings. Silver and Sonic are given magical gifts and teleported. And for some reason, Silver says he hates being teleported, because he's a wimp in this comic. Even Morty Smith doesn't say he hates being teleported. He's used to going through portals. Anyways, Sonic sheds a tear at the fact that he's back to life now, noticing that he can feel his heartbeat and weight. Common sense would dictate that he would be like this, like, permanently. Like, does anybody really like the idea that Sonic, like the lighthearted main character of the kids series, is a ghost? They could have some other character be a ghost. I think he wouldn't want to leave this parallel dimension if it had a version of Tails in it. But why would it still have him in there? It's been 200 years. Surely the same amount of time would have passed in this dimension too. They'd have to explain that it's slower in time. It'd be nice if every page was in color instead of just starting now. After Sonic runs off, Silver realizes he's in a skirt that's the same color as his fur so that it blends in with it. And he blames Sonic's Chaos Control for the skirt problem. That's amusing. Then a piece of paper hits him in the face. It sucks up to Sonic, and then says that Silver has to use his gifts, mind, and the ring he has on his finger all of a sudden because the princess who created the Arabian Nights wanted it. And she was literally a princess like the person who made up the Arabian Nights was. If she was magical enough to create a universe, you'd think she wouldn't have felt the need to tell the story of the Arabian Nights at all to preserve her life. And she would have just used magic on that evil emperor who wanted to kill her, and not even bothered telling the Arabian Nights story. So this wouldn't have happened, again. I get the spider ability to magically send Sonic and Silver into an entire world she created, and her ability to give them magical gifts like this, that brought Sonic back to life. We're expected to believe this princess is still not powerful enough to defeat the dark forces of this place on her own. She just doesn't have the right abilities for it. Even though she wrote the past of this universe. So she could just rewrite the past to kill off Razor Jin. I mean, couldn't she just use a pen and scribble out the part where she wrote about Razor Jin? So Silver has a ring that summons Shara, and she asks Silver what his wish is, and he says, "A normal life, please." I guess she won't be able to grant it. After all, even in the game itself, it seems like the only wish she was actually able to grant was summoning tissues. Worst genie ever. And predictably, Silver's line leads to nothing. So it was just a bad joke. It would have been actually good writing to have Shara explain why she doesn't grant the wish in the story, which even Sonic and the Secret Rings did. Instead, she doesn't react to it at all like an actual human being would. Silver mentions Sonic in front of her and wishes he could find him because he ran off. So she summons a flying red carpet saying that the fastest way to find Sonic will be from the air. She really is a terrible genie because if she was really magical, you'd think she just cast a spell to immediately find out where Sonic is. Sabrina the Teenage Witch could do that. She'd make a Sonic detector. Like, she could also freeze Sonic in time. But according to the description, all she can do is just summon things. Okay, then why can't she summon a Sonic detector then? If she can summon anything. Well, this wasn't thought through at all. And I thought this was going to be, like, the good part of the comic, because it's in color. Silver's a wimp, saying that this is getting too crazy for him and he doesn't know what to do. This isn't Silver the Hedgehog to me. He never angsted about craziness in 06 or anything. All he worried about was saving his future and what he'd have to do to Sonic. It's his character to be a worrywart in this comic, but it'd make a lot more sense for Antoine. And it would have been creative to have Antoine have psychokinesis for a change. That's the problem when the writer thinks they like a character and insists on using that character. I think she just likes the design of Silver. Because this is certainly not the personality. Shara says that Sonic told her he'd make her smile, and Silver agrees to help her. Silver flies on the red carpet, at first being scared because it's going too fast. Is the red carpet just magically going in the direction that Sonic is going, and it magically knows where he is? I guess it can't go fast enough that it would instantly catch up to Sonic, because then Silver and Shara would be sent flying off it and die. Because if they were the ones in control of the direction it would be heading, they would head in the wrong direction from ignorance. At first he's scared because it's going too fast, and then he asks Shara if the skirt looks like a kilt to her. Why didn't he take it off immediately if he hated it then? And Shara just says, well, instead of saying that she has no idea what a kilt is, since she lives in an ancient desert. Then she feels some strange magical energy. It's certainly nice to see Silver alone with Shara for a change. They suddenly get threatened by a magical being from behind, and Silver raises his hand and says it's not working because bullshit idiotic Diabolus Ex Machina. That's lame. Nobody would be that lame, especially not someone with psychokinesis. He'd just telekinetically tear it apart by imagining that. This is easily the most embarrassingly written, bad, terrible story concept. It wouldn't be so bad if it didn't happen more than once. But why in the hell does it happen more than once? Why does anyone take it seriously? No amount of complaining about it is making me feel better about it. Sonic comes in and kicks the bad guy and lands on the red carpet, saving someone who shouldn't need saving in the first place. Chara hugs Sonic. He immediately remembers that he said he'd make her smile and feels sorry for her, and she gives him a pinky swear saying that she is smiling. Though for some reason that isn't in a text bubble. If Chara wasn't so slow to react and stupid, you'd think she would have used her summoning powers to summon a weapon to defeat the monster. Couldn't she just summon a wand that would kill it with a laser? I guess she didn't think of that because she was too scared, and she didn't have time. The point is, Chara probably shouldn't need saving either. Sonic says that the Jinn tend to attack in groups, so they better get moving. And it looks awkward at first because of Chara. They flee to a sand oasis city, and Silver says he doesn't feel much safer here. Really, he shouldn't have to worry about whether he's safe or not when he has telekinesis, but whatever. This isn't real Silver, so... He's reassured by someone who inexplicably already knows his name. And that person is this dimension's version of Amy, Morgiana, who says that she's seen the adventures of winning Sonic in her cards. It makes sense that the tarot card reading hobby of hers was used again. Amy's a better name. I'll just call her that instead. Having her be a psychic was a stroke of genius. I know being able to interpret tarot cards isn't the same thing as being a psychic, but fuck it. Common sense would dictate that anything that makes her a more competent, useful character is a great idea. And if someone says it's stupid just because it's not from the games, then they're the ones who are being stupid. Like, it's a different universe after all. I guess the Chaos Energy gave her a different power here. This issue by Evan Stanley was about Silver and Sonic getting sucked into the book The Arabian Nights because Silver's mother sent it to him as a reading assignment. And she's still homeschooling him. Why on earth is he living in an apartment alone? It can't decide whether he's a teenager or adult. Sure is convenient that out of all the different potential books he could have gotten, he got this one. It's very lucky for Princess S that she was able to get Sonic into her universe then. You'd think with all of her powers she would just warp into it without needing them to have the book. Because she needs Sonic and Silver to fight against dark forces that regain their strength, for which would hopefully be a very logical reason, considering that she created the universe in the first place, including the Racer Jinn. She sends him into the book. There wasn't much plot in this issue. They go to the Arabian Nights desert. Sonic runs off happily because he's alive again magically. And then he conveniently lands on Silver's flying carpet out of nowhere, and they go to Amy in a city. It's not creative to just reuse the ideas of Sonic and the Secret Rings. A fan comic can be about anything, so there's no excuse for just stealing the idea of a game. It's just lazy. Like, it kind of defeats the whole point of reading a fan comic if it's just gonna be like that. This will only be worth it if it really world builds the universe they're in. Because having Sonic just suddenly go into the book again seems like a crutch for not having any original idea for a plot. Because they're just going to the same places that we already saw in a game. I sure hope they go to new places, because if they just go to places like the desert and Dinosaur Jungle, then you're not going to be told anything new about the place. I can't wait to see Sonic and the Secret Rings Eggman again.